This is the first session of Season 2 of our Dungeons & Dragons campaign, Conquest of Dovah. Unfortunately, Twitch did not record our session, so instead of actually playing the session, we're going to do a quick recap of what transpired.
Welcome back to another episode of Power Word Nerd.
Loviatar 30th, on the second floor of the Queen's Grace Dungeons. Following the difficult battle with the kobolds in the dungeon library, Soren stood guard, while Vecni and Beric lay down to rest and recover from the fight. 30 minutes into the rest, Soren heard someone or something pushing at the barricade of bookcases he and his allies placed at the entrance into the library. He heard a voice call out, and met Freyla Ravenspark and Aethelred Dornraven, two adventurers who were also traversing the deadly Queen's Grace dungeons. Freyla was a female high elf cleric with long silver hair streaked with red. Aethelred was a hippie-looking Jesus-style human bard. Both were from the kingdom of Eldoria, and their reasons for being in Queen's Grace were not looked into by the other adventurers. After some wary and guarded introductions between the two groups, Freyla and Aethelred agreed to stand guard outside, while Soren, Vecni, and Beric finished their rest. While standing guard, Freyla heard whispering, the clinking of armor and weapons, and the sounds of clawed feet on the stone floors in the dungeon hallways. Once resting was completed, Soren, Beric, and Vecni searched the library and found a scroll of Dimension Door, a book on the Blue Blood War, and the Sublime Codex of Mori. After trying several methods, the group could not open the magical lock on the Codex. The five adventurers joined together and began to track the creatures Freyla heard, eventually coming to believe the beasts consisted of a party of 9 kobolds. The group continued to follow their prey, which led back through the dungeons the way that they had originally come. Freyla, Vecni, and Beric took a detour and searched an ancient closet filled with rusted tools with rotten wooden handles. Freyla searched the slick-wet floor and found a dirty vial of liquid. She cleaned the vial and saw that the liquid was bright red and watery, but couldn't figure out what it was. Eventually, the adventurers followed the kobolds to a closed door. Behind it, they heard a blade sharpening on a whetstone, someone practicing archery, and draconic whispers. Freyla, who could speak draconic, heard discussion of the Shadow Knights, Penjara Sagrada, Grisbon's Eye, and a human called Ian M. Soren remembered from his studies of demons and the Abyss that Penjara Sagrada was a prison in one of the layers of the Abyss. Soren polymorphed Beric into a rat to scout the room ahead, but this was ineffective, and Beric's rat brain couldn't properly scout. While peeking under the door, Beric did observe a couple notable things. There was another door on the opposite side of the room, and the room was rather small, but filled with 9 kobolds. 6 of the kobolds were covered in battle scars, armed with swords, spears, and crossbows, and they each had a clockwork-style mechanical left arm. These 6 had the look of soldiers. The other 3 kobolds were winged and had an almost angelic appearance. These 3 had iridescent scales that shined bright with all the colors of the rainbow as the torchlight reflected off of them at different angles. When Beric was turned back into his normal dwarf form, he recalled these kobolds were the exact same creatures that he battled with Sam Anders and Soren previously. The exact same beasts that downed and nearly killed him. The Vengeance Paladin, Beric Harag, was ready for round 2. The adventurers prepared themselves for a battle. Vecni drew out her magic javelin and placed her left hand on the door handle. Soren casted Minor Illusion, creating a knocking sound on the door on the opposite side of the kobolds' room. The creatures all turned in the direction of the sound. Vecni raised the javelin to her lips and whispered, "Ignis." Then she ripped open the door and hurled her javelin inside. The javelin streaked through the room, radiating with lightning magic, and slammed into one of the kobold soldiers, also damaging 2 others with lightning. Freyla casted Firebolt, launching a flaming projectile at the kobold nearest the door, which delivered stinging fire damage to the creature's chest. A winged kobold rasped in draconic words that only Freyla could understand.
"We are under attack. The human we are searching for, Ian M., isn't amongst them. Tog, Gabor, take care of them. We still have much to discuss."
Two of the soldiers shimmered and phased out of existence, teleporting into the back line of the adventurers. Another soldier slammed the door of the kobolds' room shut. The kobolds, now in the back line, began rapidly slashing and slicing at the air around them, and their blades appeared to pass through space and distort reality itself. Soren and Freyla observed that the air around them was twisting and distorting. And suddenly, blades slashed and stabbed at them from the ether, landing several blows and causing considerable damage. A bleeding Freyla casted Cure Wounds on herself, healing a small amount of her injuries. The kobolds glowed an ominous red color for a moment, then turned back to normal. Aethelred casted the Fireball spell at the 2 creatures, filling the hallways behind them with intense flames. The fire washed over the 2 beasts, but seemed to do much less damage than Aethelred expected. Beric focused on one of the kobolds, and raised his axe into the air, bringing it down on the creature's shoulder. Then he raised his weapon again, and channeled the radiant power of a divine smite. He sliced down the creature's chest, badly damaging the beast. The kobold sliced at the air again. This time, their warping, dimension-tearing blades cut through the flesh of Freyla, Soren, Vecni, and Beric, leaving only Aethelred unharmed. Freyla and Soren both collapsed to the ground unconscious from their wounds. The 2 kobolds glowed again, but this time, a heavenly golden color. The peaceful-appearing hippie, Aethelred, played his lute, and a ray of magic shot out towards one of the kobolds. Upon being hit, the creature's eyes grew wide with shock, and then its body began to smoke and burn, and the entire beast's being disassembled and turned to dust. Vecni channeled Ki and delivered a stunning strike to the other kobold, leaving it unable to act. Then she pounded it again and again with her fists, until it fell dead to the incredible blunt force trauma that Vecni administered. Without missing a beat, the party brought Soren and Freyla back to their feet. Then they bursted through the door back into the kobold's room to resume the battle. But the room appeared empty. Soren remembered from battling the kobolds previously, they had the ability to turn themselves invisible. He immediately casted sickening radiance in the room and backed out, slamming the door shut once again.
Welcome back to another episode of Power Word Nerd.